everyone. It's been a little while. Welcome back to our channel.
It's been a quick minute, hasn't it?
Today's video. As you've guessed by the title, we're going to be doing a Berlin Marathon race recap because I've not stopped talking about it.
And I'm going to leave halfway through.
But yeah, we did a few videos on the build up. A lot of everything we've spoken about this year has been about Berlin Marathon. So kind of wanted to end the videos in this way, talk how it went through.
It sounds very final, doesn't it? End it.
Before then we do some new videos. Didn't really want to just kind of create new videos and then not talk about it. However, if you want to know a little bit more than just what we're going to talk about today, we've done 2 episodes on our podcast, which is called the Running Hub podcast, if you've not heard of it before, and we took it in turns. I was one week, you were the next.
Yeah. Wasn't a podcast long enough for both of us, was it? Well, for you and for my little bit.
Yeah, we know I love to chat. So yeah, if you want to go a bit deeper in and like hearing about our race experience, then head over there. But we're going to do a recap today and talk you through it. So in the first few videos, that we did in Berlin was us going to the expo. So you can check out that video.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. We arrived in Berlin on the Tuesday, so we had plenty of time to familiarise ourselves with the surroundings, go and get inspired by Brandenburg Gate, seeing the finish and the start area being constructed, and immerse ourselves in the marathon major.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm really pleased and grateful that we were able to do that and have that time before. Kind of built the hype, didn't it, and got us in the zone and ready, because in some of the previous videos I was kind of really worried about the race and how it was going to pan out, so actually being there really helped for that. So I'd always recommend, if you can get there and spend a little bit of time in the city before, just to, especially the majors, that the hype is certainly there. So
yeah, it was nice to do our last couple of runs out there and sort of, I don't know, feel like we're finishing the training where we're supposed to, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So should we just talk about race day and how?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so
ding 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 ding, alarms.
Yep.
Go off.
Not too early, I can't remember, I don't think.
No, it's about 5:45, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so got up, had our breakfast, nothing really too much to report, everything kind of...
Sipping on carb drinks, eating some carbs.
Yeah.
Very marathon morning, we preach about this all the time about getting your routine nailed down, so yeah, nothing exciting for us on the morning, we just did what we do. Yeah,
and I think because we'd sorted everything out before, it was all kind of like quite a smooth process,
Yeah, we knew how we were getting to the start, we knew what train we were getting on, we knew when we were getting there, so yeah, very uneventful morning, so it should be. Yeah,
it was just get up, get changed, have our breakfast. I had porridge. I did struggle actually to eat my porridge. I was trying to force it down. I think we'd eaten well in the days leading up to it, so carved well.
I wouldn't say you struggled, you probably just weren't as hungry as what you are some mornings. It's more of a tick box exercise, isn't it?
Yeah, that was it. Because some people struggle with like pre-race because of nerves, but for me it was just I felt so full. But not in a bloated or heavy way, because then that didn't detract from the race. So yeah, made our way, we got the train. I think like just top tips if you're staying in Berlin, like don't worry about feeling like you have to stay close to start or finish. Like everywhere on the metro, the trams, we joked everywhere we looked, it was like half an hour to get. Everything's half an hour to get anywhere. So even if you stay a little further out, we stayed like northeast of Berlin. We had an apartment and it was perfect because it meant we could prepare our breakfast and get there okay. So we got off the metro stop at, was it Brandenburg Gate we got off at?
We did indeed, yeah.
Yeah, and you knew you were going in the right place because there were so many other runners. We had a group photo with some of our teammates from the Running Hub and then just kind of made our way into the pen.
A very easy process. Like when you get to London or New York, you've got to gather ages before. I felt maybe because it was just one start line and one big wide start. We actually went into the pen maybe 10 minutes before the start. It was very, very chilled, really. It wasn't a very, very German efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a few people moan about the start pens and the corrals, but personally, we didn't have any problems at all. One thing I would say is that if you are getting there a bit closer to your start time and there are loads of queues for toilets, I basically went into my corral and on the other side of the corral there was lots of toilets. So about 10 minutes before the race started, I was in a queue, but the queue was only a few people in front. So that's just a top tip. Like, don't worry about there were toilets in the corral, because some races there aren't always. So there's that worry as people were going before.
For anyone who's confused by corral, okay, means like the wave pens at the start line. So
corral is American, start
so you have wave A, wave B, wave C. So in your sort of pen area there, that's what it means.
So you were C.
C.
I was D. And waves A to D started 9:15. Now, I was very shocked at how quickly I got over the start line. It was only about 6 minutes being in wave D, so that was really good.
Yeah, again, it's just smooth, quick, and off it goes, wasn't it? Very, very efficient.
I loved the start. You know, they introduced all the elites. There was like really loud music, pumping vibes. They like did fireworks and fire. So yeah, I was like really excited at the start. Who's going to go first with their race?
Should I go first? Over and done with quite quickly. So for me, not the result I was after. Spoiler. No, it's been a while now, so I've had time to digest it. So you get, I suppose, the hindsight thought process. I actually dropped out at halfway. On the start line, I felt good. I felt confident. I felt maybe a little bit too confident there. It was just a case of I just needed to go out and do this now and execute it, which is probably a good thing. So, you know, in theory, you know, be at the start line as confident and as fit as you can be. I'd done that, so that's a big tick. However, a little hamstring niggle that I'd been feeling in the taper, which I thought was just sort of in my head and a taper niggle, was not. I could feel it in the first mile. Not great. At that point I thought, just ignore it. It'll play its course. I'll run it off. It'll be fine. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I kept very much to my pacing and fueling strategy, but by 10 miles, even though I was on pace, I was starting to limp. The next 5k become very, very painful, to the point where I just kind of told myself, right, in the next tube stop you see, you can stop. You're done now. Wasn't in a good place pain wise. You know, I've had a few people message me and say like, oh, well done, you made the right decision. You'll hear more about it on the podcast. It was nothing to do with decision making and save myself for another day. I was in a headspace where there was no part of me that wanted to struggle through the second half and just finish a marathon. That's not what I wanted to do. So I did pull over and stop. It was a very frustrating feeling. Like, I felt like I'd done everything I could do to be where I needed to be, but it was not my day. That's the bottom line. So again, listen to the podcast. We've restructured things. Fortunately, I do have Valencia around the corner now, so you know I'm not going to waste my fitness. But yeah, unfortunately, as much as running is an honest sport, I drew the short straw on that day, and it didn't quite work out for me. But you know, marathon's a cruel beast, and that's what brings us back. You know, it is what it is. But there we go. That was my non-school.
No, it was. It was really gutting, and then I was gutted for you. Yeah, there was no doubt in my mind that you weren't going to do it that day. I thought, you know, you had it in the bag and nailed, but yeah, like you say, things can happen on race day. So for me, I was really worried in the lead up to it, because I had felt like my training, I'd done a couple of tune-up races and they just hadn't given me the confidence I normally would get from them in the build-up. But, you know, with the race build-up being there in Berlin, I'd kind of tried to change my mindset and be like, go into this, try to remove the pressure, have as much fun as you can, and decided, like, I kind of had a race strategy in my head, but also kind of really wanted to try and run to feel. So started, and I was going a little bit quicker than kind of I wanted to at the start, probably on the pace that James wanted me to go at, and I was like, okay, right, let's just go with this and see how it feels. Through the first 10k, I was probably on the pace that James had said for me to go out at, and things were feeling quite good. I would say though that from the start I didn't feel amazing. Aerobically I felt good, but something just wasn't always feeling like it was clicking. So like 1 minute I was feeling great, and then the next minute not so much. But just
trying to learn to ride those waves in marathon.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I knew that it kind of comes up and down, but the problem is I was going up and down all the time. One thing I found difficult was the water stations. The cups were quite hard. So I was very mindful. I saw a couple of people trip early on, and I was just very conscious of that. I didn't want to fall over. And then, yeah, things like, were going quite smooth at this point, just kind of like, ticking off the miles, using the kilometre markers as well, because like when your watch goes off, the kilometre goes past, you're getting more rewards from that.
Yeah, and that's really important to know, not necessarily both of those markers, but what markers are going to be on the course, because you will variably lose some GPS. So like in Berlin or a lot of the European races, there's kilometre marks. So I think it's handy to know your mile splits and use your watch as a guide.
Yeah.
And then like me and Katie knew exactly where we needed to be at 5k markers.
Yeah, and there was like timer mats every 5 kilometres, so I knew where I needed to be. So again, it just kind of like, it was motivating me because it felt like I was achieving the chunks. Went through halfway in 1:46, I think, roughly, and saw our friends.
1:56.
46.
I was going to say you definitely didn't.
Yeah, no, 1:46. I'll clarify that. But 1:46. Saw some friends that are living in Germany and had come to see us, and that was awesome. I needed that so much, because that's what I missed about London, is that like in London there's so many people that come to support us from like Milton Keynes or from local running clubs, or people that just know us through the running community, races we've done, the podcast, etc. So you get a lot of support, and that gave me, I knew they were going to be at 21k around that mark, so that gave me a huge boost. So yeah, by this point I went through halfway and I was like, yeah, feeling all right. Wasn't feeling, as fresh as I'd like through halfway, but still kind of feeling in control. I got past the dreaded 16-mile marker in my head, because that's been a few times where in the 2 races that I've done in marathons that have gone wrong, it was like, that's kind of when things have unravelled, but still was feeling quite good. My pace had started to drop only slightly at this point, but I wasn't worried. Like by that point, I was like, right, I've got this in the bag. I just need to keep going and just keep going and keep going. And then, again, just using those kilometre markers just to keep pushing me through. Got to mile 20 and I was like, yes, definitely have this now. It's just going to be like, keep, not battling to the finish, but just keep.
More of attrition at that point.
Yeah, just keep going. Now, I made a huge mistake at about mile 23. I got my phone out for the first time. I didn't record anything, didn't capture anything. I was like, I'm just focusing on my race.
Future Katie will be banned for taking her phone with her.
Yes, because at this point, I pulled my phone out, hoping to find out that James had smashed his sub-3, and that was going to get me through the last 5k. Saw a few messages, and it was quite cryptic. I had no idea what was going on. So I had then worried through the last 5k. At that point, like, oh no. Went through, I was kind of like, the last bit's quite twisty turny.
I do know from previous times.
The last bit's quite twisty turny. I'm like, I'm going to turn this corner.
Well, I did tell you, didn't I? Like, I kept thinking when I did it last time, you turn right and you're going to see Brandenburg Gate.
Yeah.
You go, it's like a stairwell almost.
There's a few bits, and I'm like, come on, this next turn has to be where Brandenburg Gate is. And then I turn and I see it, and I start getting like all emotional and all welling up, and it's like, oh yes, how amazing. So I go through Brandenburg Gate, I see James shouts my name. I was so happy that I get to see him, and I just charge for the finish. I say charge to the finish, so I ran as fast as I felt like I could at that point, and finished in 3 hours and 35 minutes. So really happy with that, because the main goal for this race was just to try to execute it as well as I could, which I felt like I did. The second half was about 1:49, so I did lose a few minutes in the second half, but I felt like I was just continuing the same effort. It was just my body wasn't allowing me to run another 1:46. But yeah, happy with that, because that means that I've qualified for Chicago next year, which was kind of my main aim from the race, and yeah, collected my medal and finished. So yeah, all good. Fueling strategy was totally on point. I didn't feel like I lost anything through nutrition. I took water at every station because it was quite a warm day, or warmish. It wasn't as hot as it was originally forecast to be, and took a gel every kind of 30 minutes, which worked perfectly. So yeah, I was chatting with a friend today, and sometimes you attach your race experience to a race, and that defines your perception of that race. So my race was a positive experience, however, it didn't blow me away, and that's kind of how I've come away from Berlin. Now, I'm sure lots of other people will love Berlin, but for me, it is a fast course, it is a flat course, but because I wasn't in a position where I could truly race it or I knew that I was going to like absolutely smash it, my confidence led into that. And do you get what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so it's not that I'd rush back to go and do it again.
You feel you had an okay performance and Berlin was okay?
Yeah. Whereas on the other hand, like when I've done New York and London, I've loved them, regardless.
What did you learn from yourself in Berlin?
I crossed that line knowing that there's more in me in the future, because my PB is 3:22 and I know that there's more to come.
Yeah, I think you need to be a bit braver with yourself, don't you? Like, even when you were talking then, you said you had some tune-up races, but tune-up races mean like applying yourself to them. I'm not saying you didn't apply yourself, but you don't invest yourself in them.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't do that, which I think is fair, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've spoken about this a lot this year. Somehow I've lost confidence in my running.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the
This
only
year.
way of... It's very easy to go, oh, I'm not going to attack this 100%, because then you're not setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
And it's quite scary, even if it's only yourself. And as much as we say it is only yourself, always go, right, I'm going for it today. And then if you go for it and it doesn't go right, you feel you failed. But actually, who gives a toss?
Me. Because
No, but that's probably what you need to
yeah,
take into it.
yeah.
And like, you had a good run, and you know the time you did, I don't think I never doubted you could do. Like, there was points in the group in the build-up, you were like, I can't hold 8-minute miles. Like, of course you can. Like, you're going to hit 8-minute miles for a marathon at 50% fitness. You know, you're strong over that distance. But applying yourself, that sounds harsh, doesn't it? But you know, like, invest in yourself, throwing yourself.
But like, it just all comes down to confidence,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's all it is. So I need to and that's the main goal from moving forward now, is confidence, because the lack of confidence has shown in my running for the last kind of like year or so. Because like, even thinking back, I've run my two of my faster half marathon times, my second and my fourth, at the start of this year, and I still wasn't confident going into those. But now I look back on it, I'm like, why? If I ran my second and my fourth fastest half marathon time, I was in a great place at the start of the year. Exactly, that's all it is. But with every marathon,
Learn to be ballsy.
with every marathon, there's an opportunity to learn, develop and grow. And, you know, as coaches, we still constantly learn and grow. But I feel like everything apart from, like for me, it's confidence, which you can't necessarily teach. It's just about experience. And for you, it's just now applying yourself again and executing the perfect race. But, you know, so...
The perfect race, no pressure.
No, a good race. But no, I think every marathon block, like, even though we are coaches, you can't get it right every time, and we have learnt that, and we'll continue to take everything that we do and put forward into both our running and also with our athletes and the Running Hub community as well. So yeah, lots to take away. It was like, I had a great time in Berlin in general. Like, it was a great time. Yeah, it was like it was a bit sour, like, for the fact that, you know, I hit what I wanted to do, but then and your result as well. So it was a bit of like overshadowed it a little bit, but you know, we've reflected, we've moved on, and
Salt. I've salt.
and we're ready for the next challenge. So if you
So next challenges are
Valencia,
get confident.
Get Confident, and Chicago Marathon. I've put my application in.
And how are you going to get confident?
Don't know, I need to think about
It's
that.
easier to get confident over the short distances first, isn't it?
Yeah, I need
can-
to just throw myself
you can
into
hurt
a few 5Ks.
Or be prepared to hurt less. Or
Yeah.
hurt more, but for a little amount of
Well,
time.
I'm really proud of how I threw myself into the 5K that we did. I know I gave that everything
Good.
on that day. So yeah, but if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you.
Well done.
Please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and also if you have a spring race booked in 2024, we have a new programme launching within the Running Hub community. It's absolutely free to anyone that's within our community, all about marathon training, and we are putting together a whole bunch of lessons that you can sit down, watch videos on how to train for your first marathon, and it's everything you need to know on training, your training plan, strength training, core training, nutrition, rest and recovery, mindset, race day, preparation, logistics, the lot. So we'll leave a link in the description, so if you do want to join the Running Hub community and get access to this course,
You
then
can.
you can. So yeah.
Do it.
So thanks for tuning in, and we've got some really cool videos coming up over the next few weeks and months. We are going to an Ironman this weekend, our first event that we're going to be spectating. We are not we're not taking part in. And then, hopefully, as much as James wants me to, document some of his build-up. No pressure if you don't want me to.
You can start tomorrow's session if you want to come out on the bike.
To Valencia. It's windy tomorrow, so maybe not. But yeah, thanks for tuning in.
After what I train.
And we'll see you in the next video.